love is all there is, and consciousness is everything. So that's where we start. But consciousness, what does it do? What is it all about? It's not just this thing that exists. It is this thing that is forever expressing itself in, through, and as everyone. So week 2 is about the way it works. And the way it works is that there is something called a law. Like it's a basic rule of, in order for consciousness to express, it's got to impress itself upon something that it kind of filters through, and then bam, there's our life experience. And so it's that filtering that I want to talk to. It's what's known as the law or subjective mind, and it goes totally hand in hand with be impeccable with your word, which is the first agreement out of the 4 agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. So consciousness is this incredible, amazing energy. It's pure potentiality. Yet in order for it to exist in some concrete form, it's got to do something. It can't just be. So in order for it to do something, there has to be some kind of knowingness that is involved, because otherwise it wouldn't know how to unleash itself in, through, and as everyone. It wouldn't know how to manifest or demonstrate or express itself. So we say that consciousness is self-knowing. But when it comes to the law, this thing, this subjective mind where all the beliefs, all the memories, all of the ideas of all time exist, when it impresses itself through this incredible, amazing sea of subjectivity, there are all these thoughts and beliefs that are in there that kind of can get in the way. And sometimes we don't even know that we're placing attention on those thoughts and beliefs. I mean, about 5% of the time, research shows, is when we're using our conscious mind. 95% of the time is when we are going by rote or moving through life unconsciously, according to our subjective mind, where we may not even realize that there are beliefs in play that are qualifying this impression that is happening through the law, through subjective mind, and then we kind of look at our life going, oh my God, how did I get here? I'm thinking all of these amazing things, I have all these dreams, I have all these ideas, I'm doing all the stuff, but this is what my life looks like. And it doesn't have to be horrible or bad or negative, it can just be like, why have I been trying so hard? Why have I been reading all the books, taking all the classes, listening to all the podcasts, watching all the shows, attending all the online, seminars and retreats and going to Joe Dispenza and whatever, and still, well, because we're not clear about what is going on in that sea of subjectivity. And because we're not clear, backing it up to who and what we are, which is consciousness. So in the Be Impeccable with Your Word chapter, we were talking about what is the word. And so I just want to back it up to the science of mind for a second, because Ernest Holmes writes, the thing, consciousness, love, creativity, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, works for us by working through us and is us always. It cannot work for us in any other way, but it can only become power to us when we recognize it as power. So if we're not even aware of how powerful and creative we are, then we have no idea how much influence we actually have, how much agency we have over our life. We think that it's like, oh, it's the politics in the world. Oh, it's the weather. Oh, it's the traffic. Oh, so-and-so said that. That happened to me. Well, yes, there is stuff that goes on in life. There are circumstances, there are conditions, there are people who piss us off. There are challenges that we need to overcome. Sometimes we can be doing all the right stuff with our health, and then bam, we get pneumonia or something, right? Or a frog in my throat that is not wanting to leave. Excuse me. And so what happens is we are at choice. We're at choice as whether we approach life getting wrapped up in all this stuff that is happening around us, even the thoughts and ideas that are whirling and swirling in our head, the beliefs that we're not even aware that we are paying attention to in that subjective mind of ours, or we consciously, intentionally choose to be impeccable with our word, because our word is the thing, it is the energy, it is the knowingness, it is spiritual mind treatment and affirmative prayer. For those of you who know what affirmative prayer and spiritual mind treatment is, it is the thing that sets in motion who and what we are so that we can actually have this experience that we're having right now. So the title of my talk today is, can anyone guess what it is? Be impeccable with your word. And so in the dictionary, it says that impeccable comes from the Latin impeccabilis, which is not liable to sin. It also says it's used to describe something that is faultless or without any flaws. And so if we go to the science of mind philosophy for just a moment, if we go probably to any new thought teaching for just a moment, then when we talk about sin, we talk about it in terms of missing the mark, an archery term. So it's not something that is bad, that is negative, that there's evil involved. This is about not using our mind consciously, not being intentional with how we are using our mind or how we are opening our heart, because it really comes down to feelings too. I mean, if you go to Joe Dispenza, he says that thoughts are electric, but feelings are magnetic. So you can have a whole bunch of ideas in mind, but unless there is feeling, there is passion, there is this incredible, amazing energy that is poured into them, it can kind of take a while for them to demonstrate or manifest in our life experience. So impeccable, not liable to sin, and something that is faultless or without any flaws. Now, Don Miguel Ruiz also says at the very, very beginning of that chapter, the first agreement is the most important one and also the most difficult one to honor. Why? Because that's the basis. On Wednesday, my talk was called In the Beginning, and this is what it talks about. And if in spiritual mind treatment, which is affirmative prayer, in spiritual mind treatment, the first two steps are, and I'm just going to use the word God here, God is all there is. Second step, I am God. That's the premise that we come from. That is the perspective. That is the foundation, because that is us saying, this is who and what I am. This is how all-powerful I am. This is how creative I am. And this is what my intention is. There's a difference in stating and declaring, this is all there is, this is who I am, and moving into an intention or a prayer from there, rather than, I sure hope I get it. I sure want something. I need something. What kind of energy is behind that? It's totally different. So our work is to remember. And this is what the word is all about. And so I love that we were talking about this yesterday and how people were throwing out different ideas or different words, and I'm going to sort of say like word capital W and words little w, lowercase. And so there was ideas, there was consciousness, there was knowingness, there was energy. And so this was all about like, what is it that is at the very inception of all life, of all creativity? It's the word. So back to Ernest Holmes, he says, so great is this power, so complete is our freedom in it, so absolute the domain of the law through it, that the misuse of this power has brought upon us the very conditions from which we suffer. We are bound because we are first free. The power which appears to bind us is the only power in the universe which can free us. So when we're having a bad day, and you know what, I'll use myself as an example. This morning, I was feeling extremely exhausted, like really tired. It was an incredibly challenging week this last week. Lots of crisis, lots of volatility, lots of spiritual counseling. And in the moment, as I was doing my work, it was amazing because moment, focus, presence, this is the task at hand. This is where I'm putting my attention. That being cumulative, by the end of the week and yesterday's events, I got home and I just was spent. And the story that I was buying into at the time was, I am exhausted. I feel exhausted. This week was so hard. It was so challenging. I feel so stretched, so beyond belief. Like I earned my keep as a minister this week. And then I thought, yeah, but that's not what I want to buy into, you know? And so my perspective shifted. And for me, it's like I was stretched. I had to do stuff that I hadn't done before. I had to open up. I had to trust. I had to surrender, our song from before, so I could get clear, song from just now, about who and what I am so that I can move through today, because we have a board meeting after this, move through today as the consciousness, the love, the all power I know myself to be. And so that's conscious use of mind. That is being impeccable with my word. And it's not something that's easy all the time, especially if we do feel challenged, if we do feel exhausted, if we do feel like, I don't know how to get through this next moment. And so this is when mantras and affirmations and reminders like, love is all there is, consciousness is everything, are amazing. And maybe those don't work for you, but there's something that does. You know, I'm reminded of a thing that Glenn offered one day, and I forget who it was, but this idea of get out. That there's someone who says, when you are spinning, when you are spiraling, when you are like going down the rabbit hole, get out. And that could mean get out physically from the environment that you're in, just so that you can have a complete bodily physical shift, so you can get in your body, like do something and move. But what it actually means is you're getting out of that mindset that you're in, out of that perspective that you're in that moment, so that you can view life from a different perspective. And as you view life, you experience life, you attract life in a different way. So all of this is to say, we must be impeccable with our word, not just the words that we say, the words that we use, that is important, but because we need to remember who we are. That love is all there is, that consciousness is everything. So in The Science of Mind, Ernest Holmes asks, how much can we manifest? How much can we demonstrate? And the answer is, as much as we can believe. And now this is kind of not a sticking point, but yeah, but come on. This is like universal and individual. This is absolute and relative. And so for me, I look at that and I'm like, how much? Well, all of it. Because if I am God, if I am infinite potentiality expressing, if I am consciousness, then I can believe how much, like everything, all of it, right? But the thing is that we are consciousness expressing. Each and every one of us is an individualized expression of God, of love, of spirit, of source. We have our journeys that we are taking. We have our beliefs that we are holding dear, whether we're aware of them or not. And nobody can decide how that's going to unfold for us. We are the ones who decide. So in order for me, as Lesia, the spiritual being having a spiritual existence as this human in this moment in time, then I need to be crystal clear about who I am so that the I am part, the allness of me, the ever-flowing, boundless, limitless imagination that is always in and at play, consciousness with a big C, can flow in, through, and as me as fully as possible every single moment of every single day. And so that is why I use my conscious mind to explore and dig into my subjective mind so that I can get clear on who I am, so that as I use my conscious mind, it is impressing itself through subjectivity that is life-affirming. That is like, yeah, life is an adventure, life is awesome, I want more. Our theme from 2024, there is always more, and I am always more than. And so it's a choice every moment of every day. What is it that we're choosing to focus on? Being impeccable with our word, remembering who we are, creating life as that. Ernest Holmes writes, we are thinking, willing, knowing, conscious centers of life. We are surrounded by, immersed in, and there is flowing through us a creative something, call it what you will. He wrote that. The sum total of all our thought, will, purpose, and belief creates a tendency in this law that causes it to react to us according to the sum total of that belief. We got to get clear on our beliefs. We got to be intentional with our thoughts, and we need to be impeccable with our word. Ernest Holmes writes that trained thought is far more powerful than untrained thought. So the more intentional we are with our conscious thinking mind, then the more we can be intentional and purposeful with how we move through subjective mind. Because subjective mind doesn't do anything except for say, this is what you're asking for, here you go. It doesn't say, oh, maybe you may want to tweak that request a little bit. It's a reflection, it is a mirror, it simply cranks out and says yes, yes, yes to whatever is put into it. So if we're not liking or preferring what it's spitting out, we need to use our conscious mind and we need to change what's going on here so that we can get what it is that we're looking for and what we would prefer. So to end, I'm going to leave you with this. The power of our word is limitless. What we choose to do with it, and as that power, consciously or unconsciously, is entirely up to us. Love is all there is. Consciousness is everything. Be impeccable as the consciousness you truly are. Thank you, and so it is.